Yeah, hey guys, so this is Big Brother 18, episode 9. The episode, of course, starts off with Bridget. Bridget is officially the new head of household, which means Frank is the new head of household. That pisses off a lot of people because, not pisses off, but that makes a lot of people a little nervous because Bridget is a wild card. And even though Frank isn't going to go after people in his alliance, everyone's a little nervous because they're like, Bridget, at the end of the day, she could decide to just go with her personal gut feeling, and that could mess up a lot of things. But Bridget isn't confident at all as far as making decisions because she's, of course, concerned with the usual of how people will perceive her if she puts up certain people. And when I say certain people, I mean the wrong people to put up for that week. The people that actually aren't targets. The people who actually hold some type of power in this game. So there's that, and so Bridget's really not sure. And everyone's irritated because, and when I say everyone, I mean Devon, the girls in the house really, are irritated because they're like, Lord Jesus, we wanted Frank out of the house. Now with Bridget being HOH, that means Frank is pretty much safe. And Natalie's happy, Bronte's happy because they're like, okay, so we're good. We don't have to worry about her putting us up. But yeah, so who's actually going to go up? And James says something really important. He said, make your own decision. Because James knows that Frank will be the main one making the decision. Now, again, Frank is public enemy number 1 because Frank has boundary issues. He doesn't understand that the girls aren't his bros and he can't be just as physical with them as he's been doing. Tiffany is a little puzzled because she's had a falling out with Frank, and she knows that everyone knows that Bridget is close with Frank. So Tiffany's afraid that maybe Bridget might put her up just because Frank thinks it's a good idea. She's not wrong. She is not wrong. And that's exactly what happens. Frank is just like, yeah, why don't you put up people like Paulie, Bronte, and Tiffany? Those are the 3 names that he pretty much floats out there. Bridget's saying, no, I want a showmance out. Bridget is thinking, now this is smart, even though we personally wouldn't like it. It's a good move for her. It will have actually been a strong move. There hasn't been really a strong move yet this season. And Bridget was thinking maybe Nicole and Corey because they're the couple in the house. So there's that. And speaking of Nicole is swooning over Corey. Nicole loves her some Corey. She pretty much thinks Corey is the closest thing to perfection that she's ever seen in her natural born life. And it's funny that I'm like, Nicole, remember, you're in the Big Brother house for you. Remember, you're in the Big Brother house for you. Remember, you're in the Big Brother house for you. Please like, comment, subscribe, by the way. And Frank, again, is doing it where he's making side comments, where he's like, oh, you slut, oh, you bee. And the thing that he doesn't realize is he's really offending these girls, slapping them on the butt, doing all this stuff. Frank doesn't get it because, well, I'll tell you a little bit later why he doesn't get it. But Devon is over it, completely over it. Now, when they do Bridget's HOH reveal, it's like, oh, cute sister, all that. Yeah. And so I'm kind of glad they're not spending too much time on the HOH reveals because it would have been really a waste of time. The narrative that they want to showcase this week is the reason why we shouldn't like Frank. Frank is doing the same thing that he was doing in his own season where Frank was, the thing is, all we saw was mainly him being a competition beast, and we were thinking, oh, they just want to get him out because he's strong. No, it's because Frank does rub people the wrong way. That's why he was aligned with who he was aligned with on his season. Devon is having a mental breakdown because she can't take it anymore. It's just like, this dude is doing way too much. He's doing way too much, and with the whole slapping of the butt and with the names. And so when Devon, when he does it again, Devon goes into the room and you have Corey and Paul trying to hug her. And so Frank comes in because he realizes, no, something was kind of off. And so he looks and it's just like, oh, Oh, I don't know. She's just like, no, Frank, just stop right now. So she goes and she leaves, and then she goes and she talks to James, and she talks to all the rest of them. She goes into the confessional room and just says how she's just afraid that if she goes and she says too much, rocks the boat too much, does what she did last season, speaks her mind a little bit too much, she's going to get kicked out of the house. And she doesn't want to do that. She wants to actually stay and survive and thrive. She wants to make it farther, and this was her second chance. So why would she blow it by, just venting and saying how she really feels, and potentially that being the reason why she leaves? And it's messed up that it's like your morals and what you will accept and what you won't accept gets called into question. Paul was feeling a certain way these past few weeks as well regarding morals and all of that. Well, everyone of course is on Day's side right now, and Frank is talking to James, and James is acting dumb, pretending to not know what's going on, even though he knows exactly what's going on and knows that no one really likes Frank right now, but for multiple reasons. So Frank does damage control. He goes and he brings in Davon, and they talk, and Davon pretends to accept his apology. Frank talks and explains that he was raised in a household where it was just women. It was his grandmother, it was his mother, and they would just joke around, they would play around, and so that when Frank is comfortable with other women, he does the same thing that he did with the women that were important to him in his life. So he's not doing it maliciously, it's just what he's used to. Now he doesn't realize that, okay, maybe someone could take that the wrong way. I'm sorry, Frank, I'm sorry, I have to stop right there, because here's the real deal. At the end of the day, keep your hands to yourself. Keep your hands to yourself. You don't really know these people like that. Especially, you can't treat these women as if they're just some guys in a locker room. I feel like that's the mentality that Frank is treating them with. As if they're his bros. You can't do that. Even some guys would be like, hold up, just chill out. So, the fact that he really thinks that it's okay to go and do that to the women, like when he had Nicole and he was spinning her around in the pool, well, he like hoisted her above his head, spun her around the pool, and then, blah, dropped her right into the pool. I was like, damn, that actually looked like that kind of hurt. And of course, it was a joke, and so Nicole knew that was a joke, and everyone just took it as a joke. But at the same time, I don't like that. I don't like that type of, like, you do that to me, haha, I'll laugh, I'll be irritated for a moment, and I'll stop caring. But I can see how someone else could really be like, don't play with me like that. Bridget goes and decides that she's gonna put up Paul and Tiffany. Now, was that a power move? No, only because of the fact that Paul and Tiffany aren't truly the targets this week. Frank is the target, but Frank is safe. So she didn't have that many more other options. And since this is also Frank's HOH, because Frank is telling Bridget what to do, Bridget could have put up, but I didn't want her to put up the other people, so I guess this is what it is. Bronte goes and tries to advise Bridget, look, I understand you're close with Frank, but Frank is a potentially a cancer, and so forget cutting it off. You need to disassociate yourself. If people are coming to you and saying, well, with who you put up this week and all of that, just always keep in mind that Frank has something to do with it. And everyone knows Frank has something to do. And she was like, I don't want people to think that I'm not making my own decisions and all of that. One, you're not really. And two, you want to, because of course you're not going to go and play the blame game. But do not go and say, oh, it was me too, I was aligned with Frank. No, that'll get your butt kicked out of this house quickly. So Bronte was really trying to advise her friend, shut up, say nothing, let people talk. That is important in this game. And Tiffany is realizing maybe she's not necessarily on the topping block, but who is? It's like, who else can go up aside from her? Definitely have to go and make sure that she wins BB Roadkill, because at this point, Bridget is a wild card. Well, not really. Frank is running Bridget, so there's that. And James and Natalie love each other so much. That would be a cute couple in real life. Now, I don't know why. It's not that James looks old. It's just that James looks older than her. So I have to go research how old James is and how old Natalie is. Because, yeah. And, sorry, but I think at this point, Frank is the oldest person in the house. And so maybe he's thinking that he can pull a Derek and really relate to the younger. But this group, we already got most of the immature people out of the house. So this house clearly doesn't thrive on immaturity. And James is the only one who can do it because he does it in a lovable way. He even has boundaries. Frank has been violating people's, the boundaries that matter most to them. Like, don't touch me. Like, don't touch me. Don't say anything that's really disrespectful. And people sometimes may get annoyed by James, but that's all it is. It's just like having a little brother that won't leave you alone sometimes. But now it's BB Roadkill time. And the competition is there's 5 steering wheels. And of course they all have horns that sound different. Like a boat, like a tractor trailer, like a regular car. And they have to match 8 sounds. They have to do it in the sequence that they heard the horns go off. And so there isn't a time limit. It's just all about whoever does it the fastest. And unfortunately, Frank wins. Well, we already knew, well, if you pay attention on social media and stuff, we know that Frank won. But it was just like, because of just how we're feeling about Frank. And you know who Frank won, but everyone knows that he won because he just said his usual line of, oh, well, I guess it's supposed to be like Christmas in July, but instead we got coal. And so that was just reconfirming the fact that, da-da-da, I won, you lost, I have the power, type of thing. And everyone's irritated because they don't want Frank to win. Nicole's pretending like she's happy, but she's just like, Lord Jesus, I'm only happy about the fact that Frank informed me. So it means I'm still on still in his good graces, still on the inside. And Frank goes and tells his alliance members, so clearly he's still taking the 8-pack seriously. No one else is, but it's important that Frank thinks that they are. And Frank decides to put up Bronte. Do I feel bad? No. Like I said, what Paul needs to do is Paul needs to continue to stay under the radar. He needs to continue to be on the winning team. Do whatever he can to make sure that people borderline forget that he's in the house. Because people were only irritated with Paul because Paul was going around the house and repping for his group. But now that most of his people are gone, now he's just like, it's borderline like as if he's not there. And right now, there's too many people in the house for for really big moves to occur because everyone's aligned with everyone else. Like Bridget would have been interesting if she wasn't aligned.